The Prophet of Thought series. Prophet of Thought series. Prophet of Thought series. Open your mind.
What's up, everybody, to another episode of the Prophet of Thought series. Of course, I am your host, X, and boy, I got a good show for y'all tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to treat a man. And I got some good guests coming up on here for y'all too, boy, because you know my boy Valdez, he gonna be coming through. Also, brother Kevin Samuels will be in the house tonight as well. So it's gonna be a good show. So just sit back, enjoy it. And of course, you know, we're gonna be talking to Minister JAP too. So hold on to your horses. It's the Prophet of Thought series right here on the TPOT Media Network. You know, let's go.
Prophet of Thought series.
Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of the Prophet of Thought series right here on the OTPOT Network. Said before, tonight's topic is how to treat a man. Before we get started, and teacher Tanisha should be up on here too as well, but y'all already know that. Y'all follow me. Before we get started though, I wanna talk a little bit about Brother JAP. Now, Minister JAP, as everybody who's in here knows right now, is in the hospital. The brother got hurt, and you know, you could tell he's in a lot of pain. I actually spoke to Minister JAP not too long ago via text message, and he said he's getting better. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Jap, because I want to do this show, but I do want to shout Brother Jap out, because Brother Jap is one of the brothers who he supported me, man, from the very beginning. I mean, a lot of the subscribers that have come to my channel, they have come by way of Minister Jap. I've been on Minister Jap's platforms a few times. We've spoken behind the scenes on telephone, and he's always treated me with nothing but respect. You know what I'm saying? And Brother Jap, Brother Jap is hardcore. You know what I'm saying? That's a straight up hardcore brother from Chi-Town. So Jap ain't no damn joke. But Brother Jap has always treated me with the utmost respect, man, and honor and dignity. And like I said, he's always supported my platform. So I just want to shout out Minister Jap, man. If you look down in the the description box, you can see Minister Jap's PayPal is down there. So go ahead and donate to Jap. You know what I'm saying? Because he needs us right now. He needs us. So look down right there in the description box, right below, and you will see Minister Jap's PayPal information. So y'all go over there, man, and show Brother Jap some love, man. Like he's always shown me. You know what I'm saying? Show him some love like he's always shown me. And like I said, I mean, being that we are talking about Jap, it fits right in with what the topic is tonight, because the topic is how to treat a black man. And what I've noticed tonight, well, not just tonight, but ever since this happened to Jap, I've noticed that a lot of people underneath Jap's videos was talking cash money crap to Jap and about Jap. It seems like to me that it's just totally inexcusable, man, for people to be kicking a man when he's down, kicking a man when he can't defend himself, when they know that when that man is up on the mic and he's up on this YouTube, Jap will, with no shortening, no grease, okay, fry him up hard, all right, fry him up hard and feed him to stray dogs, knock it off. Because when I talk about how to treat a black man, I'm not just talking about females. I'm talking about treating black men, each other as black men. We need to know how to treat each other as well. So, I mean, that goes without saying. I hate to see a brother get kicked when he's down. Because like I said, Jap has never been nothing but good to me, man. Nothing. And oh, snap, Brother Valdez on the line. What's good, Brother Valdez? Can you hear me, brother? Brother Valdez? Brother Valdez. That's what it is.
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I got you now.
All right. Like I said, y'all, one of our most honored guests has just stepped into the room. Brother Valdez is up in here.
What's going on, bro?
What's good, man? Same old, same old. I was just in here, kicking it to the people, talking about Jap, man, and, talking about these troglodytes, man, who've been talking dirty against them, and I said they know that if Jap was up and around, he'd be cooking them with no grease, frying them hard and burning them and feeding them to stray dogs. So,
oh yeah,
they need to knock it off. They need to knock it off, man.
They doing it. They doing it. They kicking him while he down, because that's what cowards do, man. That's
Absolutely.
Like even the most fierce warriors have respect for they enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
You remember on that classic Bruce Lee movie where he fought Chuck Norris, and in the movie he killed him, and like he actually laid him out and put his stuff over him or whatever, put his gi back over him and put his belt over it, because you even if you got an enemy, you still got to respect them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have no respect for your enemy, 9 times out of 10 you get done in by your enemy. But you know, most cats don't understand that concept. They just don't have no upbringing, you know.
Yeah, they've been raised by the wrong folks, and the folks who raised them was raised by the wrong damn folks. So one of those repetitive cycles that we often live as black folks, unfortunately. You
Word.
know, I mean, you're gonna kick a man, at least kick him when he's in a position where he can defend his damn self.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Yeah.
but like I said, I tell everybody, look down there in the description box. You hit that link down there, and you can donate to Minister JAP's platform. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
If you can find it within yourself, if you can find it within your heart to look out for a brother, goddamn Negroes. But anyway, yeah, I didn't want to spend too much time talking about JAP, but I did want to do some JAP rap, and I want to shout brother JAP out. Brother JAP, you out there listening, you can call in if you want to as well. Open some phone lines up. I gotta wait and see what happens up in here first. I was just telling the people that brother Samuel's supposed to be coming on too.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kevin Samuel's gonna be here tonight, y'all. Let's go ahead and get to the topic tonight. Started. Let me do this. Who's in here now? All right. I don't know how many people are going to come into this stream because, you know, X is new, you know, open and new with these streams. I have plenty of moderators already, as y'all can see that. It is to know anybody that come in here, disrespect any of my guests, disrespect me, disrespect this platform, just kick them right out. Don't even, no timeout, no nothing, just out. Out. All right, everybody? All right. Anyway, tonight, how to treat a black man. Because we often hear about, you know, how we should treat a woman and how a woman should be treated and all this old kind of stuff that we've been hearing ever since I've been alive. But you never hear how to treat a man. How many times have we heard that? Okay. How many times have how to treat a man? And I mean, I'm focusing this on you ladies, but it goes for dudes too. Because like I said earlier, y'all, you know, the brothers, we have a tendency not to treat each other right, man. We don't treat each other like men, or should I say, when we dealing with other men, aren't acting like men. Y'all can understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But first, I want to start out with the ladies, okay? First and foremost, I guess you'd have to get past step one to get to where I'm talking about. You know, first you'd have to get a man, okay? First you'd have to get one. Okay, so let's go beyond that. Let's pretend that y'all have gotten one already. Okay, we passed that stage because I'm not trying to teach y'all how to get one, but I'm going to teach y'all how to treat one once you got them. Okay, now you got this man. Now the first and foremost thing that you want to know about treating a man, and this word I know y'all already know, it's called respect. All right, you need to respect that man as a man. You need to respect his place in that relationship, and you need to not only respect the things that he cares about, the things he thinks about, and the things that he says, you also need to respect his ideals. And what do I mean when I say that? As men, we have a worldview, and a lot of us men, our worldviews are different. Okay, they're not all the same. But if you have a man, one of your first missions about keeping that man is kind of understanding what his ideals are and what his work. Because if you don't understand that, you and that man y'all aren't going to last long. All right. And it all comes from respect. And y'all know the old saying, if you don't know, ask somebody. If you don't know what your man, if you don't know what your man requires, you probably need to ask him, tell you. All right. I'm pretty sure he'll tell you. Now, once you get to that point, when you get to the respect and understanding his worldview, understanding his ideals, understand what kind of man he is, something else you want to do, or should I say something else you don't want to do, is be a old hoe. Okay. You're not going to keep a man if you're screwing other people, unless he's some feminine simp or something like that. But we ain't talking about them tonight. Okay. First thing you don't want to be doing is being a hoe. That's a surefire way to lose them. Listen, pay close attention to this stuff now, because this stuff is very simple. All right. It's very simple. It's not difficult stuff. You don't want to be a hoe. You want to respect the brother. And also, two things y'all really need to learn, and this is really, really important. Number one, women, you need to know when to shut the hell up. That one there is like so important. You have no idea how important that is. You need to know when to keep your damn mouth shut. Okay? Because guess what? Men, a lot of times we have to keep our mouth shut even when we don't want to. So you have to learn to keep your damn mouth shut. And two, you have to be very, very cautious about how you keep your legs open. All right. Now mind you, all right. We as men, okay, we like having sex. Okay, we like having sex. We do. But at the same time, if we got a woman, expect her to be able to perform sex with us of whenever we want it. Okay. Now there is some exceptions in there, but for the most part, you need to be open to that. All right. You need to be open to that. Even if you're not willing to do it all the time, you at least need to be able to entertain that idea. Goes back to entertaining a man's ideas again. These things are very simple, ladies. They are. All right. And something else you don't want to be doing to a man that you have. All right. You don't want to be nagging him. You don't want to be disrespecting him out in public. Don't want to be talking about him to your friends or talking about him to his friends. All right. And it would probably help if your ass knew how to cook, keep house, all right, do some laundry, iron a shirt every now and then. All that stuff plays into it. I know it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot, but really, it's not. All right. And those are just a few things. I have more, but I'm going to defer, and defer over to my most honored guest, the Angry Man, right now. See what his thoughts are on that, because I know he got a woman too.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is this: like, we've lived in this gynocentric era for so long that everything of a self-help nature when it comes to relationships is always geared towards women. They have the theme happy wife, happy life. If you go to therapy, the average therapist you go to, they're going to say, well, they're going to treat the guy like he needs to be more sensitive to her needs and he needs to be more understanding. And see, here's the thing. We've delved into the depths of interacting with women so much that I can sit here and tell you more about a woman and the things she has going on, like her cycle and shit. I can tell you all that shit. I can tell you that a woman's cycle syncs up with the freaking moon and the shift and the waves and stuff. I can tell you that multiple women, if they live in the same household, their cycles will sync up. Like, why would I know all of that? Just think about that for a second. Like, why would I know all of that? Why would I know all of these different things? Now, on the flip side of that, when you start to ask women about men, they don't really know that much about us. They just look at us like these, you know, not all women, but some women look at us like these knuckle dragging cavemen who, you know, we only do things out of a sense of just pleasure. Like, oh, well, the reason why men cheat is because they just want to screw every woman on the planet. Well, there's a reason why. What's the reason? Like where does that come from? And what they don't realize is that men have a biological imperative to reproduce. It's part of the reason that our species has survived for so long, because men try to screw every single, like, you know, like a woman will never understand. And I think I mentioned this one time when I was on your platform, Brother Xavier, when I was debating the sister. I forgot her name.
Princella Clark.
Princella Clark. And I was explaining to her that there's no possible way for her to ever understand the way a man's chemistry or the way our mind works, because, quite frankly, she doesn't have a penis. And it's two entirely different things. So the reason why I'm saying that is because women, if you really want to be able to get a man and keep a man and be able to have a functioning relationship, you need to take the time out to understand why men think the way we think, why we do what we do, why we operate the way we operate. Because we're not as simple as they're making us out to be. Men are nowhere near as simple as they are trying their best to make us out to be. Like, you need to understand why, if a dude is sitting there watching a game on Sunday, why he doesn't want you to interrupt him. You understand? You have to understand that men are not social creatures by nature. We have to teach ourselves to be social. But if you take a group of men, like, let's say me, Kevin, and Brother Xavier decide to go fishing, we might have a conversation while we're on the boat, but at some point, we're going to get quiet as hell. And this is something that most women won't understand. We could all be sitting around watching a football game or fishing or something, not saying anything to each other. And guess what? Nothing's wrong. See, if women sit together like nobody's talking, it's like, well, what's wrong? They must be mad at each other. No, we're just different creatures.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're just different.
Exactly. We have been joined by Brother Kevin Samuels. What's good, Brother Samuels?
I'm good. Glad. Sorry for being late. I zigged when I should have zagged.
It's all good. It's all good. You know what we're talking about tonight, right?
Is it how to treat a man? Is that it?
Yeah, how to treat a black man.
There you go. Should be interesting.
Yeah, man. We want to hear your take too, man. We want to hear your take.
Yeah. So what's the starting question? Where are we starting from?
Well, basically, we're just the synopsis of what, how women have a tendency not to understand us. They don't understand our nature. They don't really understand what makes us tick, and a lot of them don't try. I think that's more the problem than anything else. They don't try to understand.
Without belaboring how we got here, because we could spend hours on that, and we can get us anywhere. I did a live stream last week talking about the power of femininity. Women need to regain their superpower, because there are, with all these guys being red pill, where you see MGTOW, this, that, we're finally starting to hit, I think, mass where we're starting to have a discussion about the differences between men and women. I think it's really shocking for millennial women, let's just say women under 35, that a man doesn't operate like you. You go out and get your degree, your job, your car, all this other kind of stuff. And but that's what they were told. we cared about. But the one thing that we do want, so many of them simply don't have it in their tool bag: femininity. It is easier for women today in Western culture to conceive of competing with the man than it is to conceive of being in a collaboration with a guy. It's more conceivable of a woman today to think about being independent as being interdependent. And this is a new concept for a lot of women. They're struggling with it. So much so that it's almost like you look at let's just say somebody who's morbidly obese, 400 plus pounds, something like that. The notion of getting back down to a healthy weight of about 125, you got 275 pounds to go. It's a lot easier just to say, here's where I am, because to get where you got to get to seems like almost an impossibility. And that's why they're hearing a lot of women today. They're thinking that I have all my credentials and my resume is intact, but to get to be this feminine creature is almost an impossibility because I, one, don't know what that means, two, have no roadmaps to get there, and three, everything that I'm being told, it doesn't line up with any of my experience. So I'm good. That's where I see a lot of women just saying, I don't even want to try, which is really rather sad.
Yeah, it is. Because I too, a lot of times, I know a lot of us, we have grown up, you know, I know we were raised up to believe that, you know, this whole this bubble about unconditional love and whatnot. You know, you get a woman and she weighs 115 pounds, and within 3 years she weighing 315 pounds, and you're supposed to just accept and embrace the fact that she weighs 315 pounds, as opposed to saying, hey, look, you know, this weight isn't healthy, woman. You know, this weight isn't healthy. You know, even if you hit them with the science, when you start talking about, hey, you know, more people die from obesity related, you know, causes than they do, you know, alcohol and smoking. You know, you can hit them with the science and they're still like, oh, you're supposed to be loving me unconditionally. It's not supposed to matter that, you know, I weigh 300 pounds now. You know, I mean, you kind of get that from women, because that's very important too, to a man, for his woman to look good. I mean, if he met you at a particular time, if he met you at a particular time and you were a particular weight at that particular time, and now you don't look as good to him anymore, I think it should be just important to a woman, man, to continue looking good. You know what I'm saying? Because if you start to fall off, she definitely gonna tell you. Fall
Well,
off, if
I
you
mean,
start to gain weight, if you start to whatever, she's gonna tell you about that.
that's that's their role in the relationship. A man is to be a protector, and and a provider, and women are the beauty part. I mean, you look at any species on the planet, the male of the species always has dimmer colors, such and so forth. Females tend to have the brighter colors. I was doing a stream the other day, and we were talking about why bad boys always win. And one of my first points was females respond to emotions, not logic. So making a logical argument to a woman is pointless because they don't respond to that like we do. So you can give them all the stats about obesity and such and so forth. Say that men are more visual creatures, but if they've been raised up in a world to where they've been told you're equal to a man, you're beautiful the way you are, everyone should accept you. And if they don't, they have the problem, not you. But they're not getting the outcomes that line up with that talking point. So when you say, well, sister, you're not getting the outcomes, it's because of this. That's logic. And they're gonna go right back to their feelings because, hey man, they done spent their entire life becoming some. Basically, imagine this. We're looking at women telling them you spent your entire life becoming something that no man wants.
Mm.
How they gonna feel about that?
Exactly.
I mean, because
Exactly.
they're emotional. I mean, I mean, I'm not giving them a pass on this, but I can. That's why I try to talk to women and say, "Hey, I get it. You've been sold a bad bill of goods, just like men. We were sold be a simp, and you'll win. Well, guess what? Every time I was simp clause, I got played.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you know we have to learn too. But again, it's easier of
Yep.
us to learn from those lessons because we look at loss and failure different than the women because we look and say, I got beat up on that when I lost this game, such and so forth. We don't get into our feelings as much. So that's why I think the biggest thing, they don't even know how to be women.
Well, I think even more than that, on both ends with men and women, it's just like you said, we've been sold a bad we've been sold a bad I'm bugging. My words is getting mixed up. But
Hella
we
good.
yeah, we've been told a lie. We've been told a lie the majority of our
Hmm.
life. And you'll see that now more than ever because of the way society is changing. But we basically were taught that, you go to school, you go there for 12 years, you know what I'm saying? 13 really if you count kindergarten. Then you get out of school, you go to college, and then that's it. You don't got to learn nothing else ever again in life. You should have all the tools you need to move forward. And I think what it is with people is once they get to a certain age, they truly believe that they don't have to learn anything else. They don't have to transform themselves into anything else. And it's like if you're like, there used to be a time where scholarship was a lifelong journey.
Hmm.
It was not something that you did for 20 years or 30 years. It was something you did your entire life. You were always improving. You look at somebody like Einstein. Einstein worked until he died. All of these different people who did things that was their lifelong mission. And, nowadays you have people that don't even want to do something as simple as learn how to develop better eating habits or learn how to interact in a relationship properly or learn how to be more feminine or more masculine, you know. So
Mhm.
it's really unfortunate because one of the things I constantly do on my channel, and I'm starting to feel like people think that I'm being condescending, but I'm not being condescending. I constantly try to teach people on my channel, that and show them an example of me and basically say to them, look at me, like I'm constantly improving and I'm constantly looking for the next thing, the next challenge, the next goal, trying to, evolve as a human being. And people, they just don't want to do that. They just get stuck in a rut. And it's like, well, this is what it is. So like I've literally seen people that are literally in a rut. You can literally look at them and say, you're in a rut. And they just accept it. Like, you know, it's much easier to do this than to do anything else.
Well, we have such a go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I'm 48. And this whole we live in this acceptance culture where eighth place trophies and everybody's a winner. And you know, I'm like, you the things that I did, even guys are struggling with this. I hear a lot of young guys talk about, hey man, I got into a relationship. She played on me, she tricked off on me, she broke my heart, such and so forth. Swearing off all women, I'm going MGTOW. I'm like, dude, that's just what I call 20s. You know,
Exactly.
we were raised to have to continue to compete. So again, we're dealing with an entire culture that's taught everybody to be happy, content, everybody's feelings account, and such and so forth. We've actually got an entire culture that people are just content with the minimum, but the minimum doesn't work for our community. The minimum, especially for black folk, the minimum don't work for us because what are we, the canary in the coal mine when they get a cold, we get the flu. So if everybody can be a C student across the rest of the Western civilization, the black community, you see we're getting Fs.
Mm.
Mhm. Exactly. Isn't that a problem with us though? A lot of us, as black folks inside black society, I mean, we have a tendency to say is to damn everything. I mean, everything it is what it is. I mean, now mind you, some of those things that's applicable,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But A lot of those things that we use it to describe is not. You know, you can't say it is what it is when you're up from 100 pounds to 250 pounds or 300 pounds. You can't say it is what it is. You can't say that you can't say it is what it is when you have went from looking like coming queen to now you look like the lady that did not get the Aunt Jemima commercial. I mean, you can't say it is what it is, because men, we don't get to use that it is what it is excuse for everything. And a lot of times, one thing I've known, and I went through this with my ex, not to really bring her up because I didn't really want to do that, but I will for this example. One thing she didn't understand about me is that just like she expected certain things from me, I expected certain things from her, and I wasn't getting it. Okay. Even though I was voicing it, even though I was telling her, look, this is what we need to be doing. This is what I expect. But guess what? I wasn't getting it. So I think that has been a big problem. Now, mind you, I'm talking about people who already have a man. All right. I don't know about what you women gonna do who don't got one. I don't know what to tell you. You might have to talk to your grandma, your auntie, or something like that if she happened to be married. But once you got a man, to keep a man, whatever you were doing in the beginning, okay, whatever you were doing in the beginning, stick as close to that as possible. All right, and then some, and build on that. Build on whatever it is you did to get them. You better build on that and try to make it a series. Okay, you can't just show that movie once and then that's it. All right, you want to keep him buying those tickets. Trust me, you want to keep him buying those tickets. And I don't mean by having a baby or no.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about you, at least one thing a man wants to know. Okay, you hear the talk all the time from Chris Rock, the three S's. Yeah, those three S's are nice. Sex, substance, and silence. Yeah, those are nice too. But there's a lot of things that go in between that. And one of the main things I know, me as a man, is I need peace. All
Mm-hmm.
right. I need time where I can be away from you, where I can do some thinking on my own little world, kind of like I'm in right now. And I also need to know that I don't necessarily need to know that you trust me, but you trust my judgment. Because let me tell you ladies something. Number one, man, by going through his iPhone. You don't keep a man by reading his emails. You don't keep a man by seeing who's on his Facebook page or who's following him on Twitter or who he's following. You do not keep your man like that. You will not keep him like that. If you are to the point where you are so insecure and your self-esteem is at a low point where you feel like you have to do all this stuff to keep your man because you want to see what he's doing, watch what he's doing, monitor what he's doing, you're going about it all wrong. Because if you feel like your man is out there messing around, if you haven't decided to leave him, the best thing for you to do, ladies, better you. Because if being a better you doesn't keep him, reading his emails won't, checking his text messages won't, checking his Facebook page won't, checking his Twitter won't. That stuff is going to keep your man. It's not. All right. None of it's going to keep him. And if y'all don't know that, y'all don't deserve a damn man anyway.
Well, I mean, you're starting from a point of saying, for you ladies who already have a man. When I taught singles ministry, Vacation Bible School, I was teaching majority women, and you had women in there as early as 23 years old asking, "Hey, are there any instructions for dating in the Bible?" This chick was an attorney, had all her credentials together, but didn't know how to interact with a man because, number one, you said you can't just be like, had all fucking attitude or all screwed attitude. The only way you can not have that attitude is get away from those kind of people. You can have that kind of attitude if you stay around the same people. In order to have a better, in order to have people change their attitude, you got to have some people that are going to challenge you. So if you're a single woman, you want to learn how to get a man, stop hanging around your single girlfriends. Go hang around some married women. Because you're going to have to learn how to look at men in a
Bingo.
completely different way. Drop all your so-called male friends when you're dating a guy. You know, understand that men are completely different because, like you said, the 3 S's, you know, but you need a guy. We all want a woman to be cooperative with us, and we don't want stress or drama. When a man is in his zone is when a woman's doing what she needs to be doing. You know, we need more women who are already booed up in a marriage to come teach some of these young single women, and these single women need to go out seeking this kind of information because Beyonce didn't got them confused.
Oh yeah. Got them you know, taking notes from her music. Meanwhile, she's in a marriage to the only dude she has children by. And basically is living a traditional lifestyle. Aside from the music industry stuff, she has a traditional lifestyle. She's married to a man that she did not have children with before she got married to him. She doesn't have children by any other dudes, and they're in a committed relationship. And they probably are not. I seriously doubt they'll ever get a divorce because that would be a bad business decision for both of them.
Oh no, never gonna happen. Never
Yeah,
gonna happen.
it's never gonna happen. But you know, aside from that, like you got these women out here listening to that. Like stop listening to. And you know, the funny thing is really interesting because a lot of memes have been popping up on Instagram lately. And one of the memes that they show a picture of Gucci Mane and Keisha Kaur at their wedding. And next to the picture, there's a picture of 2 Chainz and his wife. And below that, there's a picture of who else? There's another rapper and his wife. I can't remember which one. But it says, stop listening to music that's telling you to hang around with a bunch of, like, to mess around with a bunch of side chicks and have a bunch of women. The majority of your favorite rappers is married. And that should tell you something. That should tell you that you're sitting there listening to music and applying that music to your life. Meanwhile, the people who are making the music aren't even applying that music to their life.
How many people were surprised when they found out LL Cool J was married? Ice Cube was married. I'm like, I mean, somebody in the chat room said they don't understand why women are basically dissing married women because, classic Ruby, when you've been told your entire life you're a god, you're infallible. We live in a gynocentric world. You know that from hanging out on this side of YouTube. You're talking to people who really never had to deal with being corrected en masse, but their life is riddled with consequences. And looking at the fact that I got to do something different. I can't keep banging my head against this wall and expecting a different result. That's insanity. What do I need to do? I need to change and go the opposite way. But that means that all the guys that they used to call lames and nerds and all that other kind of stuff become their select men. That means all them weak, simple-minded broads who are fools like you become their idols. And some people would just rather, you know, go ahead and just take the cyanide capsule because they just can't handle it emotionally. That's too much of a change.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the funny thing. The funny thing about it is you got these individuals who do interviews and they say stuff, and if you're popular and you say something, people tend to take that as, oh, that must be the norm. Like, I think Tyrese was doing an interview and he said he takes advice from Rev Run because Rev Run was the only married man he knows. And he said growing up, there were no married men around him. And I said to myself, God, why would he say something like that? Because when I was coming up, all the men in my family were married. Like all of them. All of them. Like there wasn't no, like, and nowadays the craziest thing about it is you have all of these dudes that will go out here and they'll have a bunch of different chicks. And a lot of dudes think that that is a great feat to be able to have multiple women trying to holler at you. I'm going to tell you something right now. The challenge and the thing that's the hardest to do is to have a 50-year marriage, a 60-year marriage. That's the hardest thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the most difficult thing to do, and a lot of people don't see, like, I'm different. I'm cut from a different cloth. I must have just been a traditional dude or whatever, because when I was coming up, I wanted a wife. I looked forward to having a wife. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to constantly, like, I've been out there in the dating world and I've talked to this woman, I've talked to that woman, and I didn't want to do that my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Because if you, as a man, like, a lot of dudes don't realize that if you pick the right woman, she'll look out for you. Like she'll make sure that you're straight. You know what I'm saying? Which you need as a man, because sometimes we're a little reckless or whatever. But for the women out here, like, because I know a lot of women, they look for that. There's more women looking for something that's going to last a lifetime more than dudes are. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of women will go out and they want the end result first. If you know what that means. They want the end result first. And as much as I hate to say it, you might actually have to help your husband or your man become a husband. You might have to help him. You might actually, you're not necessarily gonna, I put it like this.
That's always the way it's been, though.
Yeah, that's
don't hit their stride until 40. If we used to get married, we used to get married in our late teens, 20s. We don't learn what the hell we supposed to be until 40.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole concept of getting married and building and everything else. But like you said, they want the end at the beginning.
Yeah, they want the end, and this is what they don't realize. If you meet a dude in his late teens, early 20s, and you say, well, he ain't got his shit together. He ain't supposed to have it together at that age.
No.
He's not supposed to have it together. He's figuring out what it means, because you got to think, first of all, he's leaving his adolescence, leaving his home, leaving his security net, leaving all of those different things to go out in the real world on his own, which is entirely different for women. Because, men, we don't have the same support system in society that women have. When we go out there, it's pretty much, we're like that bird that's getting kicked out of the nest, and you either gonna fly or you gonna hit the ground, and you got to realize that when men are in their early 20s, they're just trying to figure it out, especially Black men, because you have a lot of Black men that unfortunately may not have had a role model in the house, or if they did have one, he wasn't the best role model, especially with men in my generation. There are a lot of us who really didn't have really good role models or whatever. The men before us did, which is part of the reason that, some of them were spoiled the way they were. But you have a lot of us that's just trying to figure it out and trying to understand our place in the world as a man. And the worst thing you can do, this is one thing that I always try to point out. The worst thing you can do if you meet a dude in his 20s and you're in a relationship is talk shit about what he's not able to do. That's the worst thing you can do to him, because what you're doing is you're messing with his confidence. And when you mess with a man's confidence, you're cutting off the lifeblood of his potential.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. But that's usually what happens, especially nowadays. I mean, you got to think, even the young guys that are coming up now, okay, with the growth of with media and the internet and Facebook and all this other kind of nonsense, I think that it has kind of stymied and caused young brothers to be even less mature age than we were, because I'm in my 40s too. And I look at these young guys now, man, they're way less mature than I was when I was their age. You know, the shit they're doing when they're like 25, I was doing that shit when I was like 16. So yeah, you know, they're like way, and I think the internet and all that kind of stuff and parenting and grooming and environment all has to do with it. You know what I'm saying? It all has to do with it. But I think that go ahead,
Sorry,
Kev.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that nowadays we have these group of men coming up, and a lot of them they were raised by females all their lives, and like Brother Valdez said, they didn't have any role models, they didn't have any male energy, any male counseling or any male influence. So they come up with these feminine ideas, not just about the world, but about themselves as well. So they're living within those parameters, and I think within those parameters have an adverse effect of how they, you know, circumnavigate the world as young black men. I think that it has a big effect on young black men now, especially those who were raised, you know, without a father. They didn't have an uncle, they didn't have an older brother, they didn't know. They just were indoctrinated by auntie, mommy, grandma. There's no way they can go and circumnavigate the world, man, without having, you know, some type of feminine kind of outlook on it, because that's all they've been taught, you know.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. These young guys did not grow up with the sense of urgency we grew up with. Remember the selective service?
Yeah.
That shit scared the devil out of me.
Yeah.
Because at 18, there were three choices for me and any one of my cohorts. You went to college, you got a job, or you went to the military. You turned your tassel to the left, you had to give up your mama's key. You had 3 months from graduation to get out.
Shit, bruh.
Go ahead.
Bruh, at 15, my pops had me in the car going to downtown Raleigh to get my freaking work permit.
Yeah. I started working early too. So you look at that. We had to select the service, and I'm like, oh my God. Because, you know, Vietnam was still a thing people talked about. You know, and I'm like, okay, being drafted and going to, that's the reason I never went to the military or the ROTC to take that money to go to college. Mistake in hindsight, but I always had so much respect for the military. For guys to go do that, you know, to go put their lives on the line for somebody else. Go ahead.
It's crazy because if you look now, because we always talk about how, you know, women often want the same rights as men, but they don't want the responsibility. And we also talk about how they want, you know, they want to live modern, they want to have a progressive kind of life, they want progressive things going, they want men to conduct themselves the way they did back in the 1940s. And nowadays, you're not going to see that from many men. I mean, you're not going to see that kind of thing. Nowadays, you're going to see a few types of men. First of all, you're going to see the alpha males, okay? Then you're going to see the beta males, and you're going to see everything in between that. But of that, all men want one thing from women. It's respect. Okay. Now, that respect can come in many different shapes, forms, or fashions, but that respect has to be there. Respect is not there, be there long either.
Well, you think about that though, and I 100% agree. When you ask in these marital counseling or singles ministry, what do you want? People say they want to get married, and you ask them why, you know, it all falls apart. I fundamentally believe most people don't think 3 levels deep. They can't answer 2 follow-up questions, you know, without the argument falling apart. That means they haven't thought about it. But I think there's one thing that we can all agree on. There's been a general loss of respect for manhood in Western civilization over the last 40 years. So we're asking women who don't respect men in general to respect the men in specific. I mean, you look at TV. We've gone from Father Knows Best and all that other kind of stuff to where if you see a man in a mini series or something on TV and he's married, what kind of husband is he? He's some kind of bumbling, stumbling fool who barely knows how to warm up water. His wife is a doctor and they got 4 kids and she's the brilliant one. And it's been going for how long? You either got that father or then you got the guy who ain't in the house and is a deadbeat dad. The war on manhood has been totally destroyed. So when you ask the average sister, do you name me 5 men you respect that you aren't related to or that are not in the clergy? Cricket ass quiet.
They can't do it. They
Can't do it because all the men they respect are related to them, which is based on their own selfishness anyway. But every guy in the world is some potential fool. There is no respect for manhood. So you wonder why they raise so many self-hating men. I tell this story often about you go to church on Sunday, on Mother's Day or whatever. You can't get a parking space. The restaurants are booked 3 weeks in advance. You can't find a flower. You would have to go dig up some grass to give it to your mom. You try to find flowers on Mother's Day. Go to church on Father's Day or the Men's Appreciation Day. The preacher could not get any of these women to clap. Even when he said clap for them, he was shocked. He's like, clap for these. You're sitting next to your sons. Clap for their fathers. They can't all be bad. It was like the clapping and coming to America. And these very women are destroying these young boys' sense of manhood before they even get born because they're like, well, look, my mama don't like men. No men like men. I'm going to grow up to be a man. There must be something wrong with me. It gets deep.
And see that, that's one thing I can honestly say that I benefited from. Like when I was coming up, I was born on a military base. So I spent the beginning years of my life in a bachelor household, in a bachelor pad. The beginning of my life was my father. I was on the military base. He had custody of me, and all I was around was dudes. That's all I was around was guys. And it got to the point where my grandmother had to start watching me, and I started staying with her and living with her, but there was always a male presence in my life. So if I was at grandma's house, my uncle would be there, or my grandmother's oldest son, that uncle, and he was like a patriarch. And when I say this dude was the epitome of manhood, like there's no, I can't think of anybody in my life that was on that level of manhood. So when I look at his archetype, that's what I was always striving to be. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of dudes that just don't have that. They just don't have that. And I could imagine what it must be like to grow up and not have that archetype to try to model yourself after and say, well, what would my uncle do? Or what would my pops do? And even my father was like, he's like a dude that's like, as far as mentally, he's that classic type dude, he's not going to have too many emotional conversations with you and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just that cut and dry. I'm a man. This is what men do. And this is how I'm going to carry it.
And that's it. And that's it.
And that's it.
That's how my old man was, man. I mean, I was raised up by my father. My father was like a damn silverback gorilla. Okay. And he didn't play no games. He was a man of very few words. Okay. He didn't talk a lot. Okay. His actions, man, just the way he moved, you knew what that man meant. Okay. Right. And usually if he was talking to you, he was either teaching you something or getting in your ass.
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of conversations where we just sat down and chewed the fat. I mean, even as I got to be an adult, me and my father got closer as I became an adult, because then we could sit down and have a beer together, and we
Mhm.
could, we could kick the shit. But as a child, he spent 95% of his time that he spent around me, he spent teaching me,
Yeah.
teaching me how to work. I tell people this story all the time, because my father, he owned a landscaping business, right, for 25. And by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, that man had me on a wheelbarrow, on a shovel, had me digging trees, had me spreading gravel, had me
Yeah.
cutting grass. He had me doing that shit when I was like 7 years old.
Brother,
So I don't I don't
And today
know
you can go
I don't know what it's like to spend the summer just playing ball and shit, because I spent just working.
yo,
So
brother Xavier, I would be at my grandmother's house, and my grandmother's house like is in the country in Virginia. And my uncle would always do, either one of my uncles would always do repairs on the house and stuff. So I literally remember being like 9 or 10 years old on a Saturday morning. I'm sitting on the bed eating cereal, watching Ninja Turtles, and my uncle would show up and he'd come in the room. He'd be like, "Put your shoes on and get on this roof and help me put these roofing tiles on."
get to
Hell
work,
yeah.
big bro. Get to
Hell
work
yeah.
around here.
He'd be like, "Oh man, I don't want to do this." But you know what? The funny thing about it is, I'm glad that they did all of that shit, because now, like, I know how to build shit. I know how to put up drywall. I know how to, you know what I'm saying? I know how to do those things. And like, there's a lot of dudes that just not getting that. They don't know how to do none of that.
So a lot of them end up coming to the church because they've heard, the church is where all the good men are. Then, of course, they come in and then they're disillusioned because the church is 80% female
Mm.
and outside
Yeah.
the pastor. And if your church actually has a heterosexual choir director, if not, you know what that is.
Mhm.
The deacons, tend to be, they're in their 60s, 70s. So they'll come to church, and then in about 2 years, they will have left because there is no manhood really being taught. Because, I would say everything goes on in the church, in the black church today. We're still trying to pray it away. It's like, there's no economics taught. There's no, group economics. There's no practical solutions. And when we really even talk politics. So you get a guy who didn't grow up like this, like we're talking about. They start looking for information. They go to the one place they think they're going to get it, and they can't get it at church. That's why I'm glad we have these kind of channels and stuff out on YouTube. You start finding a lot of young guys are finding channels like these and voices like these to fill in those gaps. And for the first time, they're hearing something that resonates with their masculine spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like, and see, that's what a lot of cats don't realize. Like, there's some cats that come to my channel and they can't make the cut. And what I mean by that is they can't hack it. They don't. One of the things that a man is able to do, a man is able to take one on the chin.
Boy.
Okay. And if you can't take it on, if you can't roll with the punches, if you can't, if the moment somebody puts some adversity towards you, you're just gonna crumble. You're never gonna make it as a man. And like, cats will come to my channel and they'll hear me talking harsh. And I'll tell brothers like, yo, a lot of y'all need to step your game up. A lot of y'all are doing this, a lot of y'all, and some of them can't take it. And they gotta realize that's how I was brought up. Like, my uncle would tell me flat out, like, if I was mad about something he said, you know how your uncle or your pops tell you something and you kind of, you don't buck back at them, but your cheeks get all swollen and you get all mad and shit. You know what my uncle would look at me and say? He said, "Shit, you mad?
What you gonna do?"
He said, "You mad? You will get over it or you'll die angry. And ain't nothing else you're gonna do about it." Like, and see, cats don't realize, like, they come up in this touchy-feely environment. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with men understanding why they feel this way or going to therapy or things of that nature, but that's a slippery slope for men.
Yes, it is.
It's a very slippery slope for men because you can get to the point where you turn. It's just like Tony Soprano said in one of his therapy sessions. He said, "Why does everybody have to be in touch with their feelings?" He said, "Whatever happened to the strong, silent type like Gary Cooper?" He said, "But see, what you don't know about Gary Cooper is if you got him to get in touch with his feelings, he probably would have never shut the fuck up."
Right.
And it's real because you got to understand, as a man, there's certain things that you have to do as a man. You just have to do it. There's no other way. And see, this is why I get into a lot of debates with the MGTOW community, because they don't understand, like, the way women have had their female revolution. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand women can do that. Women can do pretty much whatever the hell they want because they're not the facilitators of the society that we live in.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We're the ones who build and make sure the infrastructure of the society is still running. So, you know, it's just like if you have a house and your kids is in there and they're doing this and they're doing that. It don't really matter what your kids do because you're the one who pays the bills. You're the one who maintains the house. They pretty much can do whatever they want to do, you know, in terms of being careless, you know, but you can't. And so for MGTOW to be like, well, women can do this and women can, it sounds so immature and childish. And it's like, dude, look, you got to realize a lot of times as a man, you're going to have to be the bigger person. You're going to have to be the one that's more mature. You're going to have to be the one that's going to have to take the L every once in a while. Like, that just is the way it is because they're never going to understand why you're doing that. Because like I said, they don't facilitate our society. If men decide to go their own way, let's just say all men on the planet decided to be MGTOW. You know how fast our entire civilization would collapse? Like it would collapse overnight because the moment that, like, okay, let's say for argument's sake that a dude that runs a freaking power plant or is a garbage man or something like that, his wife pisses him off and he wants to behave like a woman does. I'm not going to work. Like, he can't do that.
Works on the power grid or some shit.
He can't do that.
Nope.
He's still got to handle his business regardless of what he's dealing with, regardless of what. And I get what the MGTOW community is saying. I get what they're saying, but what they don't get is, it's like the old saying goes. When somebody asks you, hey man, how's it going? You know, same old, same old. I would complain, but who would listen?
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I think that's a big problem with us, man. I mean, a lot of us have lost. We've lost touch with, number one, how to treat. We've lost how to treat each other. We've lost touch with how to treat ourselves. Many of us, I believe, we've lost touch of how to treat ourselves.
Right.
We've lost touch with what we expect they treat us. I mean, we've lost that. So, earlier, man, sometimes you gotta teach people how to treat you, man.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because here's the thing, and this is my whole thing. Although it's true that in this day and age, women, for the most part, a lot of women don't know how to treat men. The problem is, you know, the biggest reason why men treat women a certain way is because they demand it.
Yep.
It's because they demand it. If you meet a woman that is a woman who knows she has her pick of the litter, so to speak, you're not going to carry her however the hell you feel like carrying her. She's going to demand certain things of you, and she's going to expect you to be able to do certain things. You see what I'm saying?
They have a standard.
They have standards, exactly. Standards. But here it is. But when you turn that coin the other way, how many dudes out here are willing to just toss their standards out the window just for a fat ass, just for a pretty face, just for some perky breasts? You see what I'm saying? Because you look at look at Kevin, for instance. Kevin can come on YouTube and Kevin can offer services that, for the most part, people in the entertainment industry have access to. You know, the average everyday person does not have access to a stylist. That's just a reality.
Exactly.
But here it is, this brother will offer services, and you have grown men who will sit back and say, well, that sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like, do you realize I have an uncle? I have an uncle that's in my grandmother's age bracket. This man has a closet filled with suits. Not one suit, not two suits, not three suits, filled with suits. You know, there used to be a time where men took pride in being men. They took pride in the way they dressed, the things that they did, the car they drove, the shoes they wore. There was this thing with men, and I'm not too far away from that generation, because I remember getting a new suit.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, "Oh man, you wait till the boys see this suit." I remember going to church, and I would see one of my cousins with a suit, and I'd be like, "Damn, that joint is. I got to get a new suit." You know what I'm saying? This is when I was young. You feel me? This is when I was young. You know what I'm saying? So, there was a time when dudes really truly took pride in being men and interacting with other men. And, there was a time when I remember I've been around men, and you show the least little bit of like insecurity or anything, man, they're going to clown you for the whole damn week. You know what I'm saying?
You think about it, though. Everything comes back down to standard, and then being content, and then liking who they see in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about back in the day, my grandfather had a 4th grade education. He was never rich, but he was a man.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he had was his. He took pride in being able to stitch the holes in his own clothes.
Mm.
You weren't going to walk out the house until you looked presentable, because you were a Samuels and you carried that name. You weren't just representing you. So that's why I try to do on my channels. I try to get guys to get back in touch with, forget doing all this for a woman, do it for you. And when a guy is the best version of himself, the world is a better place. That's just what you're talking about. Guys used to be men's men.
Yeah. Being a man actually used to mean it meant something. But what I think has happened is that a lot of men, especially young men, have been convinced that being a man means nothing. I mean, they've been indoctrinated to think that being a man means absolutely nothing. Like you are the last chosen, you are the first blamed. You know what I'm saying? You're the last chosen, the first blamed. It's always your fault. You're never gonna amount to shit. And whatever's going on with women, it's all because of you. So I mean, a lot of us have been indoctrinated in that sense, and because we're indoctrinated in that sense, and I'll say again, we have a tendency to look at ourselves in that same light, man. We look at ourselves like that. We look at ourselves like, we're never going to amount to shit. Anything that goes on with these women, it's all because of us. You don't, you can never be as good as the white man. That's a big one. You're never going to be as good as the white man. I mean, how many times have you heard that? So we go back to what Brother Valdez was saying about a man's confidence. I mean, a man's confidence is very, very important. I was watching some of your stuff today, Brother Samuels, just sitting back,
Mhm.
binging on some of your stuff. And you said something very important today. You were talking about the bad boys.
Mhm.
And you said that the bad boys do this and the bad boys do that. And people say, but the bad boy, he's not right. He does these things wrong, and he's rude and he's brash and all this kind of stuff. And you said, who cares? He's winning.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Who cares?
He wins.
He's winning.
He
Who
wins.
cares, man? If
He,
if if
he,
you're a man, if you're gonna be a man, who cares, man? As long as you're winning, man. As
well,
long
and
as
that's
you're
and
winning.
that's what we like about bad boys. They win, and you know, this is one thing I can agree with. Tommy. We used to always, my first time I actually heard him put it this way: a lot of mothers destroy, black mothers in particular, destroy their sons' view of manhood. Some intentionally, some unintentionally, before they even have a shot. Telling your daddy ain't nothing. Hearing a man, hearing your mama say, "I don't need a man. I don't want some other man. It's just us. You, my little man." I mean, you got no inoculation against this when you're 7, 8 years old, but you already have your confidence and self-esteem completely wrecked. Then you look at popular culture, media. You know, it's amazing if you look at some of the stuff a lot of black guys have gone through. It's amazing they even got to be 21 years old and not in an asylum somewhere.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because
With the shit that a
what
lot of men have to deal
yeah,
with.
yeah, I mean, it's throughout our culture. You cannot turn in. Where can you turn? Okay, you can at least say in the greater community, let's just say the white community, it's still a patriarchy for all things. So it's the Hispanic community, Asian community, definitely. Where in the black community can a man go and have a refuge that's not the barbershop?
Shit, you
Yeah.
can't go to the barber shop either.
Exactly. You can't, because mamas drop their kids off there on Saturday, be like, raise my boy.
Shit, I wish they
Mm-hmm.
when I was in the barber shop, I wish they would drop them off. That's not what they would do. They would bring them in there and they would have a seat and wait for them to get their haircut. So it got to the point where you couldn't even have a male conversation in the barbershop.
That's
There
crazy.
was only select moments where there weren't any women in there. You could actually have those conversations, and the barbershop that I was in, the dude that was managing the barbershop, he'd be like, "Man, you can't talk about that, Wiley." And I'm sitting there looking, I said, "Man, you got to be kidding me. Like, come on, man."
Don't
But
don't talk about that in front of the lady folk.
yeah, instead of having a policy, and see, this is something that would be unheard of. Unheard of. Instead of having a policy saying, ladies, you're more than welcome, but we would appreciate it if you drop the boys off and then pick them up to get their hair cut, so that you can maintain that energy, that male energy. You know what I'm saying? Because just think about it. There are single fathers out here, but what single father is going to take his daughter to the beauty salon and then just sit in there?
It
It
sucks.
ain't gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like there's you're right. In the black community, there is no space for men, with the exception of YouTube now. With
Right.
the exception of YouTube, like there's really no space for men, and it's sad and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, man. I mean, what women really have to realize, man, and this is very important about the treatment of the black man as well. Understand, man, that y'all have a tendency to ruin a lot of male moments. You ruin male moments. Yeah, you do. You ruin them. Sometimes a woman. I know with my woman, because I run a power mechanic shop. Everybody that knows me knows that I own a power mechanic shop, and a lot around there. Let me tell you something. When my woman come up to that shop and she see a bunch of guys around there, she's not going to hang that long. She's going to come there, say what she got to say, do what she got to do, come beat me out of some money, and then bounce. She's only going to hang around if I'm just there. Then she'll hang, for a little while. But if she comes there and she is there, she automatically recognizes that as a guy moment. And she'll kind of, she'll veer off and go her own thing and, do the, call me sign or something like that. But she was. And a lot of times what happens is with women, and I don't mean just with the women that we are involved with, women in general in society, they want to impose on whatever male spaces or male exclusive things that are going on, male or male, whatever. Women have a tendency to want to impose on that male space, whether that space is big or small. They have a tendency to want to impose on that space for whatever reason. It's almost as if we as men, we're not allowed to have, a space where we can just get together and talk about, male things. We're not allowed to have that. They always want to come in and kind of distort the energy with, with something feminine. I don't know.
But so you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. Real talk. That is partially our fault nowadays. And the reason why I say that is because Patrice O'Neal said it best when he said inappropriate is a vaginal term.
Yeah.
He said, and you should never hear a dude say that's inappropriate. You should never hear that. And the reason why is because when you're in a male space, if you're being manly and putting out that manly energy for real, and I'm not talking about like the effeminate type men that are out here, like men that don't know how to behave and conduct themselves like men. At some point, women they'll admire that, but it'll give them this vibe to separate themselves from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, oh, I can't. It's the same way with us. If we go somewhere and, you go in your house, like say for argument's sake, your girl got her homegirls over or something, they're just talking and clucking and you'll get this vibe like, let me go in the room. Like, let me get away. You know what I'm saying?
This ain't right.
Yeah, man. Time to go.
But if you have like for instance, like my uncle, oh my God, my uncle, when that dude put his feet up when he pull off his work boots and put his feet up on the thing, I guarantee you any women in the vicinity gonna get the hell up out of there.
Yeah, buddy. Already. Yeah.
But it's numerous things like that. Cigar smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It's certain stuff that men used to do traditionally that women just, you have a bunch of guys sitting around in the clubhouse smoking a cigar. A woman coming in, she's like, what is all of this smoke? I'm getting out of here.
That's how we would do it.
Exactly.
Now they want to play the fart game with you. Be like, man,
yeah,
no.
Man, that's crazy.
It's like that's like when Al Bundy built this room. He built this room in the garage, and Jefferson and a bunch of the other guys were in there, laughing and joking. And he said, "Stop laughing." He said, "Don't you know the women are gonna come piling through that door?" They smiling from a mile away. Yeah, but men have to have spaces where it's just us. We have to have that. In fact, little quick story. They actually did a study about men, about male-female interaction. And they always use white mice because their brain patterns are similar to ours. Mm-hmm. Well, they put a couple, a female white mouse and a male white mouse in a enclosed space, and they forced them to stay around each other. They gave them food and all of that stuff. And what ended up happening is after a certain amount of time of prolonged exposure of the male mouse being around the female mouse, he would actually go all the way to the furthest corner away from her. He would go all the way to the furthest corner away from her, and he would just chill over there by himself. Right. And what they found is that because the female of the species wants to interact and wants to be social, she would try to go over there where he was at. And it got to the point where he wanted to be alone so bad that he would get violent to get her to stay away from him. And what ended up happening is after him hissing at her and jumping at her a couple of times, she just went back to her space and just chilled. And what they found is after he was alone for a while, he would come back.
Mm-hmm.
He would come back and everything would be fine. And what they found, what the reason why they said that is because they even studied the chemical reactions that were going on. And what they found is that when the male mouse was around the female mouse for too long, his testosterone started dropping. And when he went and got by himself, his testosterone went back up. And when it finally got back to the level that it was supposed to be, then he went back around the female mouse again.
And she put that damn remote control down too, didn't she?
Yeah. so
remote control and shit.
You know, they got to realize there has to be a certain amount of time where you do your own thing and he does his own thing, you know.
Well, I think the biggest thing, you know, self-reflection has never been big for the female of any species. But there have been countless books written upon men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Study your woman, study your men. We are pros at hunting. We are pros at y'all. Y'all aren't. They aren't even amateurs at us, and they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to learn us. That's why you see a lot of women tinkering over to the man side of YouTube, sticking their head in the comment section, sitting around trying. I mean, a lot of them are really trying to learn. It's just, are you willing? How much are you committed to it? Are you committed to doing it past difficult? Are you committed to doing it past comfortable? Are you committed to doing it past where you think you need to? Because you've got 20, 30, 40 years of programming the way you need to. It's going to take more than a few videos and a few hangouts to get it done.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I always say social media is not socializing, man. So, you know, this is just a tool, man. This is a tool to help you to do some other things, man. And, you know, like I said before, man, it goes back to some peace, man. I mean, you know, I told my lady the other day, I said, you know, a lot of times with these women, they think they can just come, you know, with a plate full of pussy and that's it. You know, men, we like pussy, but we also like our plate full of pussy with a side order of peace. So, you know, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Side order of peace.
Since I split with my last relationship, it coincided with me going very, very hard in my business. I can't get back involved because I know the minute I get involved in a relationship, because that's how men are. When a man's in a relationship, you know what we do.
Oh, yeah.
We're programmed to provide and take care of such and so forth. And you know how doing any kind of business is, especially when you're doing a virtual and an in-person business. I just can't do it because I can't get the peace part of it. You know, I can't say, okay, let's go out and date for a minute and then say, I got to go edit some videos, carrying on. She don't want to be sitting right up under me and people. No, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, that's what you have to see. That's the one thing that I like about my girl. Like she's always busy. Like
yeah. That's a good one to have.
Yeah,
man, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Can you go away so I can miss you?
Yeah.
Get out the house so I can miss you a little bit.
Basically, because she'll be doing something and she'll tell you. She'll be like, I don't want to sit up under him all day. And that's awesome.
You get along. You get along better with your woman, man, when she's busy. You know, y'all just get along better, man. She got something to do. If she's got a life, the worst thing for a man with a life is to have a woman without one, man.
Cats 938. Well, if they listen to TD Jakes, the problem is all the men's fault and none of the women's fault. Cats 938. You don't know how true that is. I watched my marriage fall apart in the Potter's house. I know 10 other guys or 9 other men who say the same thing. I could sit there with my wife, listening to a sermon, watching my marriage fall apart because she was hearing something completely different than I was hearing. And what he was saying was basically, it's about you, life is happiness, such and so forth. I resisted that church. I thought it was demonic in the church now. But yeah, that's why I'm not big on mega churches, because because there's a massive business behind it. And they got to keep the money flowing, and the money flows from the women.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Same thing it's the same thing with therapy. Same thing with therapy. Like they try their best to cater to the women because they know the women spend the money, you know.
Yes, sir. Oh, cool.
But this is the thing, man. And yeah, let me take a few seconds to do some station identification, man. You're listening to the Proper Thought series, man, on the old TPOT network. I got Brother Valdez in the house on the Angry Man Show, and fashion consultant. How to dress, smell, look like a man extraordinaire. Brother Kevin Samuels is in the house as well. So I want y'all to like the video. I want you to take this video, freaking copy the link, paste it on your Twitter, Facebook, whatever you got, share it. Look out for the brother, because I got two good guests on here and they shit. So I'm just saying. I am just saying. But
Yeah.
anyway.
You gotta the only thing about them instructions, brother, you gotta repeat them a couple times.
I'm only gonna do it like every so often, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm formerly a radio guy, so I only give those station identifications when I get cues from from my digital engineer. He'd be looking, he'd be like, "Oh, yo, X, identify the station, give the number." So
Word.
Must be nice to have that many working with you.
But I wanted to talk about this tonight, y'all, because like I said, man, it's often that we always hear about, how a woman's supposed to be treated and all this kind of stuff, man. And, it just seems like with Black men, we are always the last people considered, no matter what it is, whether it be in politics, whether it be in law enforcement, whether it be criminal justice, whether it be relationships, society at large. Black men are always last.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's kind of ironic that it's like that, because who knows how to circumnavigate their world, navigate this world, I should say, than a Black man, because we're the most ostracized and marginalized, pushed to the edge people there are. So I mean, we know how to circumnavigate our way through the world. I'd like to think that most of us do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if we as a society of Black men are always being the last considered, what does that say about the people that we have around us? I mean, have we gotten to the point where we have to be somewhere else to be treated, want to be treated? Do we have to pick up and go to Brazil? Do we have to pick up and go to Asia? Do we have to pick up and do we have to be somewhere else? Do we have to make ourselves available to others so we can get some of this treatment that that we definitely deserve as Black men? For y'all,
my answer would be no. Because here's the thing: wherever you go, there you are.
Wherever you go, there you are.
You take you everywhere you go. Exactly. If men would just start looking at themselves, be selfish, become the best version of you for you. Start a business for you, work out for you, look good for you, smell good for you, comb your hair for you, brush your teeth for you, lose some weight for you, gain some weight for you, work out for you, fix your car for you. Women like men who are interested in doing things. Going somewhere else because the women here aren't there, you're going to take your same baggage and your same low standards and bad ideas over there, and you're just going to pollute a whole new pool of women.
Say that again.
What are you going to do? Have invasion of the simps?
Say that again.
So you're going to take a whole,
say that again.
You take you over where you go. You take you over somewhere else. You're just going to pollute a whole new batch of women. It'd be like invasion of the simps. I mean, come on. better to sit back and say, you know what, we're at the bottom of the barrel. Okay, no one likes me. Okay, but but we love those stories where the guy's like Rudy, where nobody likes him, but he stays at it, works at it, then gets a shot and does whatever he does. Same thing. If a man can look in the mirror and like himself, and then start hanging around and other like-minded men, we don't need a lot. Black men are like camels. We take a little bit of water and get through a desert. Give yourself the water you need. Stop looking for oceans and oases everywhere else.
Dang.
Y'all just got a jewel right there, boy. Y'all better rewind this back and listen to that again, boy. Y'all just got hit in the head with a jewel right there.
Yeah, let me drop one real quick to add on to what Kevin is saying. Here's the thing about hitting rock bottom or being at the bottom. Ain't nowhere else to go but up.
Nowhere
else to go but up. So if you're at the bottom, you know, and the thing that he said that's really powerful is when it comes to interacting with women, it doesn't matter what woman you deal with. It doesn't matter if you go to Brazil. It doesn't matter if you go to Puerto Rico. It doesn't matter if you go to the most furthest third world country on the planet. At the end of the day, what men do is men strive to be better and to achieve more. So all you're running from, if you're in America and you're dealing with women and you feel like it's too tough and you can't hack it, all you're doing is running away from adversity. That's all you're doing. And if you're the type of dude that's trying to, you know, run away from adversity, like I'm gonna figure out another way so that I don't have to face, all you're gonna do is you're gonna come right back to square one at some point. Because that's the way everything in life competes. Everything. That's what life is. From the moment I broke it down for a lot of people, because a lot of people, you know, we get complacent and we believe that, you know, we're here and this is just some regular thing. Do you realize that just the fact that you were born is like winning the lottery?
Boy.
It's like winning the lottery, because when you're, you know, first of all, you had to have a bunch of circumstances happen in order for your father and your mother to meet. Not to mention the fact that he had to have enough game to pull your mama. You know what I'm saying? So he was competing just to be with your mama. And then he had to keep competing and keep doing what he had to do so he could actually get him some. And then when he finally got him some, the sperm, like you were the sperm that actually made it, that beat all of the other sperm to the damn egg. And then you was in your mother's womb, which is a very fragile state. You had to go through all of that. And then you had to survive childbirth. And then you had to survive the years when you were a toddler, and just about anything could have killed you. You know what I'm saying? So you're competing. You're constantly competing. And the way the way life is always going to present a problem. And you have to figure out how to solve the problem. And when you figure out how to solve that problem, there's another problem coming.
That's it.
That's what life.
There's levels to this shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you're never gonna. There's no place. There's no place where you're gonna say, "Ah, yes, I've arrived. I got it all figured out.
I've made it. I've made it."
You know, I'm gonna tell y'all something. That's the one thing that I do worry about. That's the one thing I do worry about. I said to myself, what if I do achieve everything that I want to achieve? Wouldn't life be boring as shit if you achieve everything that you wanted to achieve? Like, out of all of the, like, that's why, you know, I get into it with Charles Faulkner all the time. He said his favorite hero is Superman. My favorite hero is Batman. And the reason why my favorite hero is Batman is because of everything he's achieved and how he constantly pushes himself. Superman, he don't, what's challenging him? You know? What's challenging him? He just gets up, you know, he chases. Yeah, he's born super. Like, he literally nothing, like bullets bounce off your chest. I mean, come on. Batman got to dodge bullets. That's a whole nother level. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
True.
But
Oh yeah. Just to build off of what Brother Valdez was saying about adversity. I mean, we always gonna face adversity, brothers. And people that I know that adversity builds character. I
mm,
disagree. I adversity reveals it
whew,
Right. There you
because
go.
see when you are facing adversity, the real you is going to show up. I
mm,
mean, you can be anybody when you got plenty of money and you're driving a fancy car and you got a good job and you're doing your thing. But when you're faced with problems, when you're faced with situations that are troubling, the real you is going to show up.
mm,
Okay? The real you is going to show up. And that real you needs to be able to deal with what's ever in front of you. And I
Mhm.
say that to say this. I want to go back to the title of this stream, How to Treat a Black Man. We allow people to treat us as black men a certain way, whether it be our girlfriends, our wives, our friends, the people we work with. I mean, we sometimes we have a tendency to permit this treatment. Okay. Now, mind you, I know there's certain situations in life where you got to kind of go along with certain stuff to keep a job, or go along with certain stuff, to keep your credit good, or whatever the case may be. But we often have ourselves in a situation where treated it, we don't have to stand for it, but we do. Okay. And I say again, sometimes it's our friends, it's our girlfriends, it's our children, it's our parents. A lot of times when we find situations being treated a particular way, we're being treated that way because we allow it, brothers. And the tricky part is distinguishing which people allow to treat you a certain way and which people you do not. Like I said before, you may have to go along with a few things to keep a job. You may have to go along with a few things, you know, not to keep a woman, but you may have to go along with a few things to keep the peace. All
mm,
right.
Mhm.
Now it's up to you to distinguish things and how you're going to keep those things. It's up to you to decide that. But whenever like you're being disrespected, whenever you feel like you being dishonored, whenever you feel like you're being mistreated, whether it be by friend, foe, wife, girlfriend, never be afraid to walk away.
mm,
Okay? Afraid to walk away. Don't ever be afraid to get rid of the so-called friends. Don't ever be afraid to get rid of the so-called girlfriend. The treatment is too bad where you make your living at. Don't ever be afraid to walk away from the job. I'm going to tell you why I say that, y'all. Because see, if you are to the point where you're saying to yourself, I can't take this treatment anymore from this person. I can't take this treatment anymore from this woman. I can't take this treatment anymore from this employer. It's just a matter of time before you do something that you'll regret. So instead of doing that, don't need to just walk away from something that you know is detrimental to your being as a man. Because if you do that, not only will you save yourself a lot of stress, pain, a lot of misery, and a lot of anger, save somebody's life. Because if you sit back and bottle up too much as a man, it's just a matter of time before you explode and somebody gets hurt. Time.
True.
So
Right.
I say again, man, don't be afraid, man, to cut people off. Man, if you got a friend, man, that don't act right, you probably don't need them in your life anyway, man. If you got a girl who disrespects you, mistreats you, and dishonors you, man, rid of a man. And let me tell you something. Sometimes, man, there's members of our family, man, that we have to cut off because they mistreat us, because they dishonor us, okay? Because they disrespect us.
Mhm.
And sometimes we have to apply a little tough love as men, man, to anybody who's mistreating us for the betterment of us. Like Brother Samuel said earlier, sometimes men have to do things for themselves, not for everybody else, for yourself.
That's right. That is right.
You know,
So, and I,
but
I can't add anything to that.
Yeah,
you
man.
know, I mean, you have to. I mean,
Like,
you know, I wanna thank everybody, man, for tuning in tonight, man. I want to thank my boy Valdez. You already know what it is.
Well,
Brother Samuels, I appreciate you stopping by, man. I
oh, anytime,
do.
anytime.
Um, we got to do this again, man. We got to do this again because I'm getting back into this, you know, stream and stuff. Haven't done it for a while, but I'm getting back into it. You know, my people been pushing me, you know, to do it. So,
Right.
you know, it's good to have two brothers up here that I respect. You know, I respect both of y'all greatly, man, and I appreciate y'all, you know, hopping up on here on very, very short notice. You know,
Well, thanks a
I
lot for having me on.
appreciate
I
this,
definitely
man.
appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And,
Man.
you know, these kind of things are important. Like you said, uh, I just think about how many young men can potentially stumble across this, and it might be a light unto their footsteps. In my business, I know, you know, some people just think it's about fashion and fragrance. I have a couple of clients that have told me how I helped save their life. Things like this can be life changing and life altering when you're putting out truths that are lived truths. So thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
mhm.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime, you're always welcome at TPOT, Brother Samuels. You know, you already know. Already know.
Cool. All right, fellas.
Thanks, brother. I
Thank you.
appreciate you, man.
Peace out to everybody in the chat, and we'll see y'all later.
Oh yeah.
Have a good day, y'all.
Brother Brother Valdez, you already know what it is, man. So I'll close the show out, man, with letting y'all know what we got going on around here. Next week, of course, we're gonna have another show. I got a surprise guest for y'all next week. I ain't even gonna tell y'all who it is till like 2 days before it go down, because they kind of iffy. They kind of on the wall. So you know, I ain't gonna say nothing until we like until we like 2-3 days in. So but I think y'all gonna be impressed with this person. This is one of my returning champions. You know, they always are a big draw. Um, Also, be looking on the channel because we got a new video coming out. I might throw it up either tonight or tomorrow. It's gonna make a few of y'all mad, but y'all follow me, so y'all know I don't care about that. Y'all do realize that I don't care about that. And I'm sorry. I know some of y'all came here hoping y'all would see Teacher Tanisha. I don't know what happened to Teach. She just kind of disappeared. She might be in the midst of doing something. I don't know. Hopefully she'll have a behind on here. So be sure to go and check us out, man. Check us out on our Facebook page, Pop the Thought Series of Facebook. That's the main page. You can also catch us at the TPOT bandwagon page and sign up for the Thought Series group page. Just go ahead up on there, man, and request to be a member. I'm sure they'll let you in all the time. I don't administrate it, so I don't know what they're gonna do. Also be sure to stop by our website, www.don'teven-try.wikifoundry.com. Plenty of good stuff up there for y'all to go and check out. It needs to be updated, but it's a pretty good site. It's pretty interactive. You know, you can start threads and put your pictures. If you request to be a member of the site, you get accepted as a member. You can post your own photos, videos, and all that kind of stuff up there. So be sure to check that out. I want to say before we bounce up out of here, I want to shout out one more time. And for all you people, all you troglodytes out there hating on Brother JAP, y'all can kiss my ass for okay, X's ass, okay, on on y'all could kiss X's, all right, on JAP's behalf. All right. Just so y'all know, because you could come at me because I'll clap back at your ass big time. But I'm just saying, yeah, I want to shout out Brother Jap. We want to we want to hope him and wish him and that he has a speedy recovery. Like I said earlier, I did talk to Jap on text message earlier, and he said he's getting there. So the brothers, he's pulling through. Jap's a tough guy. He's gonna be all right. We're gonna close out with a little bit of Jap's music because I got some of that up in here, y'all.
Word. Yo,
You know what I'm saying? So I want to say peace to everybody. I'll leave y'all with 3 words like I always do. Open your mind. And we out of here. Peace.